Okay, so hello everyone. Welcome to this Twitter space about Madara. I'm very excited about this and the opportunity to talk about this great project, and especially with the list of guests we have. I'm very excited. So let's start by introduce them. So yes, first we have. 0x Evolve from Pragma. If you can briefly introduce yourself.
Yeah. Hello. Can you hear me well?
Yes, we can. There is a bit of background noise, but
Okay. So sorry. Yeah,
yeah.
sorry about that. I'm in coffee, but yeah, quick intro. I'm Matthias, co-founder of Pragma. So we're building an oracle on Starknet, and also a core contributor to Madara, doing a lot of things around Madara and leading the growth and development there. Is just the beginning, and you will see throughout this space that there are a lot of things are being worked on behind the scenes that maybe you're not aware about. And yeah, so that's pretty much it.
Okay, cool. Thank you, 0x Evolve. We have Clément from Kakarot. You want to introduce yourself?
Yes, sure. So pleased to be here. Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon. So I'm a co-founder of Kakarot, the ZK VM written in Cairo, and we have been also supporting the Madara development, especially in the beginning, not so much recently, because we hope that you, Matthias, and all the others do all the job for us. No, joke aside, we expect. Joke aside, we definitely expect to use Madara for supporting the launch of the Kakarot ZK VM. So yeah, pleased to be here as well.
Yeah, we start already with some nice alpha for people. So, okay. Then we have Luke. Luke from Web3MQ.
Hey guys, this is Luke coming from Web3MQ. We're more of a trustless, the Generation 1 product at least is a trustless messaging relay network. And on Madara, mainly what we're doing is working on the consensus primitives. So really upgrading the grandpa, kind of a dated grandpa algorithm to more of a modern hot stuff consensus algorithm that's responsive and with better finality. Yep.
Cool. And we have Zero Night from Rageous.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, this is AJ, founder of Radius. Radius is building a shared sequencing layer for rollups. So we use encrypted mempool to prevent bad MEV happening on rollups, but also to maximize these good MEV, so we could provide some kind of for rollups to maintain their network sustainable. So for Madara, we've been contributing to Madara with encrypted mempool feature, and also about the use external sequencing layer. So yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you. We'll discuss all of this in more details later, for sure. I'm very excited about those very cool features. Okay, so let's start with the beginning. We can start to define what is Madara. So Madara is a Starknet sequencer built using Substrate. So there are many words in this sentence. So let's try to detail some concepts. So what is a sequencer? So the sequencer is a very crucial component in the architecture of a ZK rollup. So for example, on Starknet, this is the component that will basically take transactions from users, execute on the layer 2. And then later there is the prover that will have the responsibility of proving those blocks. But the sequencer does not have to prove the execution. So it runs the Cairo virtual machine to execute the Starknet smart contracts, and then it creates some blocks. Okay, so we have the public starknet, the actual starknet layer 2. And then Madara is basically a component that is capable of mimicking the behavior of the public starknet. That means that you can basically run smart contracts, starknet smart contracts, as if they were running on the starknet mainnet. So it could be a potential implementation for the starknet for starknet itself. But the good thing is that it can also be used to run basically your own starknet app chain. That will mean a chain that will also be able to run starknet smart contracts, but it won't be the starknet, the public starknet. So it can be either another layer 2 who will also settle on Ethereum, or it can be also layer 3. But we will discuss in more details about all those possible options. What is really amazing about Madara is that it's really a community-driven project. We have more than 70 contributors on the project, coming from different backgrounds, different companies. And it's amazing to have this community of people willing to contribute to the same project. So I would love if you could share a bit about how you started your journey with Madara as contributor on the project. So if you can give us some insights, maybe we can start with Matthias, because you are actually the first from the list to contribute actively on Madara.
Yes, so I actually started when it was called Kaioshin back in the days. Yeah, and so the goal was just to build our own rollup, just to see basically if Substrate could be a fit. Like if we could just take the KROVM and put it into Substrate and have something working like really fast. That was the goal, just to see like how much performance it can be and how hard will this whole project be. And quickly with you, Abdel and Lucas, we realized that it was quite simple. And like in 1-2 weeks, we already have some basic thing working. And from there, there was many things to do. And yeah, we ended up in the state it is today, but I'll let the others talk.
Yeah, very cool. Okay. Clément, you want to share your onboarding journey on
yes,
Madara?
definitely. So for Kakarot, it has say the first POC for Kakarot was done by like end of January, mid-February at some point. And then we realized that deploying on Starknet mainnet might not be the only option for us. I mean, it's cool if it works well, depending of the Starknet network itself, I would say, and the capacity of the network. But then we realized that it would be very interesting for us to be able to run, say, our own Starknet, where we could have more control around the Cairo VM, and so the execution of the EVM written in Cairo, so as to be able to add plugins, power ups, hooks, and different kind of utilities, not only mentioning like the performance of the network itself. And so yeah, we spend let's say quarter contributing quite a lot, I would say, to not as much as Matthias, of course, but we were as small as we were anyway, focused on Madara. And yeah, since July, we have sort of just be witness of the evolution, because we are rewriting the EVM. But still, for us, it's definitely something that we long to have, just to be able to put this EVM in different places and use it more, I would say, more wisely and with more features. We need a Cairo VM somewhere in a blockchain, but in a modular blockchain where we can really put whatever we want wherever we want and have a fine-grained control over what we run.
Great. Okay. Thank you for sharing this. Luke, you want to share how you started your journey on Madara?
Yeah, so for us, it was initially, we were just really drawn to the fact that, okay, there's this very community-driven. I mean, you have people building ZK EVMs and whatnot. It's just one project in and of itself. You really don't see, these really composable, community-driven, and also like multiple companies contributing the best of what they're doing. And so that was something that we've seen on Madara going on for a few months. And about, I'd say, August this year, we finally thought, okay, there was a good enough intersect between our product roadmap around what we previously built, and we thought, hey, there's this consensus and communication parts that maybe we could contribute to. So that was how we kind of started out into the dive. Obviously, we're way younger in terms of contribution compared to Matthias and the Kakarot guys, but yeah, really excited just to see how chains, which traditionally are just super heavy things, being built by a community, and just having these multiple parties providing the best of what they're doing, having it here. And so yeah, really excited right now.
Very cool. LJ, you want to share your beginning on Madara?
Yeah. I truly believe that rollups and through Ethereum is the future. So many developers will choose rollups when they develop their projects rather than like based on smart contract, because rollups will give them much more great flexibility and scalability. But what's lacking in that space is that there was no great open source reference for rollups. So I think Madara is really great because it can help developers to deploy their own network when they developing their project. So that's why we chose Madara, the first rollup SDK to integrate with our advanced features for these rollups. So I think that was really great choice for Madara to choose substrates, because the substrate is kind of a proved way to build a good rollups. So it could save time for developers to develop rollups. So yeah, that's it.
Yeah. That's a good opportunity for me to talk about the choice of substrate. Exactly as you said, the idea was there is this very powerful framework that is Substrate, and this framework has been beta tested for years in production on Polkadot ecosystem for the Polkadot relay chain, but also for the different parachains, including big ones like Moonbeam, the Ethereum parachain, etc. So the idea was to say, okay, why not leveraging those components that already exist and try to build a StarkNet sequencer with this, so that we can focus on the core StarkNet logic. And I think it was a pretty good bet. Matthias, if you can share more about your opinion about retrospectively the choice of using Substrate and how you felt before at the beginning and how you feel now using Substrate. Would you choose it again now with your experience? I'm curious to hear about.
Yeah, totally. The funny thing as well is that at the beginning we chose the Cosmos SDK. We were like back in January, so way before Madara was born. We looked at the Cosmos SDK, which has like a lot of great things, I think, to it. But the main problem was that it was written in Go, and that the whole StarkNet ecosystem was rewriting things in Rust. So we will never know what would happen if we went the Go road. But anyway, I think Rust is better. But yeah, about Substrate itself. So the learning curve, I would say, is pretty steep. Like if you're a beginner into blockchain, like there's just a lot of things to learn. You have to understand the whole Substrate framework. You need to understand Rust. You need to understand because it's very flexible and that it leverages Rust traits a lot. Like everything is just generic by default. That makes it like I think a bit harder than the Cosmos SDK. But when you get like how everything works, how everything is pieced together, and like the why it's architectured that way, then suddenly you realize like how powerful it is and how customizable it is. Like is just very, very powerful in the sense that it doesn't make any assumptions about anything. You can add like new threads that do new things. You can customize it to the hashing functions being used, to the format of storage, consensus like Luke is working on. So and that is very powerful, and it's very, very efficient because of its usage of Rust and of no STD, meaning that it basically compiles to WASM, to put it simple. So at the beginning, very hard, but once you realize how powerful it is, and I think we're not the only ones that have realized that, we see many people using Substrate outside of the Polkadot ecosystem, like Polygon Unveil, for instance, that we're closely working with. Do you have anything to add?
Very cool insight. Thank you. No, I think you summarized it pretty well. And indeed, we see a lot of usage of Substrate outside of Polkadot ecosystem. As you mentioned, Polygon Unveil, which is it's not Polygon anymore; it's Unveil now.
Yeah, sorry, my bad.
No, but it's right. It was in Polygon before, and Unveil is basically a competitor of Celestia, kind of. It's also a data availability solution. By the way, we already have integrated both of them actually in Madara. We can discuss a bit more about the level of flexibility that we have with Madara. I want also to introduce Approve, who is also a core contributor on Madara. Approve, if you can quickly introduce yourself and talk first about your onboarding journey on Madara, how you discovered the project, how you started to contribute on it, what were the challenges, what did you find went well on the project and things that went not as well?
Sure. Thanks a lot for having me, first of all. Actually, my journey started with Madara somewhere in the middle of this year. I think it was at the starting of June or the end of May. And for me, it was actually, initially I was really overwhelmed because like I was not only learning the Madara Substrate, but I also was learning Rust. Like I hadn't done Rust before. So initially I was a little overwhelmed and I thought like, should I contribute to this or not? And before that, I was working on just like some other things around Starknet, like by the name of Charge, if you know. But I thought that, let's give this a try. And one thing I would like to say to anyone in the call right now, if you're planning to work on Madara, is that it's fine if you don't know much about Rust or Substrate or even about in general about blockchains. The thing is that the community is very, very helpful. And like, even though I was just starting out, there were moments like when you have to like really, really, figure out, like I think when Matthias was saying that in the beginning, you just don't understand why it is built that way. Why do these differences exist and why can it not be simpler? But slowly when you start just spending more and more time on it, you start like it all just starts making sense, and you see that okay, this is why it's done in this way, and this is why it should be. And it's just very, very you just realize that okay, a substrate is being built for so many years, and you can see that in the code with time that you can actually change the smallest of the things that you need to. Like there's no consensus logic that's hard coded, there's no runtime that's hard coded, and a lot of people in the ecosystem, I think in the Ethereum ecosystem, are now catching it up. Like Abdel and Matthias said, like we are doing it on Substrate. Abdel is doing it on Substrate, and there are other amazing projects as well. So yeah, it was basically like it started off in an overwhelming thing, but things made more sense and it added up together at the end.
Okay, got it. Yeah, interesting. Later, I would like you also to share a bit about. You made quite a big noise on Polkadot ecosystem with the post you did on the Polkadot forum, and I would like you then to talk about it. But let's keep it for a bit later. Now, I would like us to discuss and think about what are the reasons even to consider running an app chain. What are the limitations that we have on the layer 2 that will make an app chain more suitable for a project? Yeah, who want to tackle this one first?
I can go with or Clément.
Yeah, I was taking too much time to unmute, but I was able to say that why an app chain? I mean, the thing is, I think the Madara stack offers much more than just saying it's an app chain. Like you just run a Starknet-like chain and it's Starknet, but it's not Starknet. The goal is not to to replicate Starknet. Starknet is here. It's good to have a common network. But I think that in some circumstances you want your application to have I'd say to have more control about control on what you want to run exactly, how you want to know the frequency of blocks, different things, different hooks that you could make around the transaction. I don't know, for example, for Kakarot, we were talking with Herodotus, and we were thinking that maybe we could inject some Herodotus proof of storage directly, like sandwiching transaction to make this available directly from the Solidity developer point of view, like as if it was already here. These kind of things you cannot do it if you are on a public network like Starknet. So I think that definitely the answer is more control. Is more control for us, and maybe more TPS. But this is another question, because I think that Starknet will improve, and at some point, the TPS and Starknet will raise 1K or something. So I don't want to talk about this aspect, but not mentioning the performance, the control over what you can do with the Cairo VM, because you can do a lot with the Cairo VM, and then committing the proof to Starknet is a good idea, I think.
Yeah, I think control is one great word to describe one important property of what you can do with an app chain. I totally agree on that. Yeah. Who wants to go next and add more properties or limitations of a public network?
Yeah, well, as Clement said, definitely, like it's an awesome like field for experimentation. You can it's definitely the best place if you want to learn about Starknet itself or even blockchains in general. Like it's an awesome resource. You can just build whatever you want. You go very deep into the stack, like sometimes at the lowest level parts of the stack, like the Starknet OS, which we can talk about later. But yeah, it's just by working on Madara, you see how everything just assembled together, and you learn a ton. So there is this whole like experimentation aspect of it. Then for like your real business, definitely these limitations of performance are real right now. I mean, if we can, of course, it will be better in the future on Starknet, and I definitely think we'll reach like 1,000 TPS. But right now, we can probably optimize way faster on something like Madara and have more optimization and better performance, and that's very interesting for a lot of people, as well as lower cost. You can just host your own app chain very easily. You can take the sequencer fees. So there is like a whole business model logic behind app chains, which we saw. Kind of the main reason why people are launching app chain these days is to control get back the fees of the sequencer and this kind of things. You can also decentralize it, like Madara is decentralized out of the box, which is a very, very nice features, even if there are things that still need to be worked on in a decentralized context as far as of today. I think those are the main reasons. Maybe some of you see others.
Okay, thanks. Someone wants to? Yeah, look, again, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess just also a few points. It's also there's also a lot of things you could do outside of like traditional chains with something as flexible as Madara. Like gaming, I think is pretty big right now, and I think I also saw a lot of people from the gaming world of Starknet in the audience. But a lot of times you want these alternative interactions in gaming, right? And you really don't want to have too much gas for those things. It's really hard to define gas in public networks, like with public Starknet. So that's like an area where I think. Right, it's not very appropriate to try and do that on a public network, but on an L3 or app chain, that just makes much more sense. And then also things that I think people have been playing around. It might be possible to do things like, DeFi nodes, DEX nodes, or whatnot on Madara. That I personally find really interesting. Kind of these maybe also like flashbots-ish things can be built on top of Madara too. A lot of both chain and non-chain possibilities that just I think open up with something as flexible as Madara. Yep.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Small to that same point that Luke mentioned, like obviously, yeah, that's very like important for like games if they just want to disable fees. And by the way, like in Madara, we just have like a one boolean variable. If you set it to true, you can just disable fees altogether. But like even if, for example, you're okay with fees, it's like you might not be okay with like getting affected by congestion. So like if all the apps are on Starknet and you don't want to be affected by congestion because of one specific NFT launch or one specific like traffic because of maybe on traffic on Jeddah as well, then also it probably makes sense for you to like go out and make your own app chain. So like you just have more control, like others mentioned, like we see Paradox doing right now with their app chain.
Yeah, congestion is an interesting aspect actually, because it's not as simple as that. Because in the context of a ZK rollup, okay, for sure, if you have your app chain, you won't suffer from the congestion of the public Starknet. But the problem will be the cost of proving, because you will need to prove your transaction yourself. So, but I think there are interesting design you can have, because you can share the same prover to amortize the cost. So, for example, this is the same model that we have with Sharp, the proving infrastructure of Starkware, where different entities or networks are using the same prover. For example, StarkX is using Sharp, but also Starknet is using Sharp, and now we are opening Sharp to other use cases. For example, there is Herodotus. Recently,
This space was downloaded via spacesdown.com. Visit to download your spaces today.
They are using Sharp, for example, to prove the Ethereum chain with an accumulator, then that gives you access to Ethereum historical data, and they were able to prove the whole Ethereum chain using Sharp. So I think there are interesting models where you can have your app chain, but you want still to amortize the cost of proving, and you use the Sharp prover for this. So yeah, I think congestion is an interesting aspect also for app chain. Yeah, RJ, you wanted to add something?
Yeah. So I think the app chain approach will give developers scalability and flexibility, but the limitation about these approaches would be that they need to run their own sequences by themselves. So which means that when developers use smart contract to develop their dApps, they only care about the business logics. So they only focus on how to run their algorithms, how to run their business. But using this app chain, they also need to consider how to give incentives to these sequencers or any other entities to keep their network sustainable. So that's probably the most difficult one for developers to choose rollups for their project. So I think the Madara will help them, because there will be a bunch of options for them to choose how to run sequences. For example, they can run a centralized sequences, but also they can use a decentralized one, shared sequencing layer, or encrypted mempool to prevent any bad thing when they choose centralized sequences, those things. So there are many options for them, but I think these rollup SDK thing, such as Madara, will help them to make those things easy.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I would add also one benefit of Madara that I see. I think it's a very good canary network for the public Starknet. What I mean is that we can experiment some features ahead of the public Starknet, because we have way more flexibility on Madara, of course. And then we can experiment different things, and then see what can apply well to the public Starknet and whatnot. So, for example, we can already start to implement different kind of fee market with different configuration, do some simulation with some Starknet app chains, and then we can leverage this and implement the right fee market for the public Starknet, this kind of things. Another example is, for example, if we want to I don't know, move to using a smaller field element to speed up some operations, we can try that on Madara chains and then apply the learnings on the public Starknet. So I think, it's very valuable to have this very flexible customizable piece of software where we can experiment faster than the public stocknet. Yeah, okay, great. Now we'd like you to talk more about the different kind of features that you implemented or are still implementing in Madara, like for example the hot stuff consensus or the encrypted mempool, stuff like that. Can you talk a bit more about those features in more details?
Sure. Yeah. I guess I could go first. So just a real quick gist. Hot stuff. Currently, we're implementing it to replace the grandpa part of the whole Madara / substrate consensus stack. We currently don't touch the ARA part, which does the proposal authoring and then also the leader rotation part. But what separates hot stuff apart from slightly older mechanisms like say Grandpa is that mainly two things. One, it offers instant finality. Tendermint does that too. But also, two, it offers this property called responsiveness, which means oftentimes in many of these like BFT consensus protocols, you have to kind of wait to gather a quorum, and so that kind of means that the whole process kind of gets lagged behind. You can imagine if there's like validator nodes with very high latency, or at least a good portion of them, because generally you need at least 2/3 of the consensus to be valid for these kind of instant finality BFD types of processes. And so responsiveness generally means that hot stuff, because of the slightly smarter way it executes things, you don't really have to wait for everybody to agree. The process kind of goes on in a rolling process, just in a really non-strict but intuitive way, and so that just means that the whole network can produce consensus and liveness more as a function of kind of the average latency of the network, instead of being really lagged behind by kind of these outlier latency situations. And so those are kind of just really important properties if you want a chain that's kind of snappy, and then also if you have a lot of nodes and whatnot in the future, right? Like say if you have a game that just has a lot of users. So that's kind of those two properties that make it I would say an outlier. And also in the future, if the community needs things like Tendermint and whatnot. Tendermint's also very similar to hot stuff. It has instant finality, but it's not quite as responsive. So in the future, we just hope that based on different needs, if users can choose these different consensus mechanisms, that would be really neat.
Thank you very much. It was very helpful. Yeah, RJ, you want to talk about encrypted mempool and shared sequencing layer for Madara and how you are tackling those features?
Sure. So rollups usually have centralized sequences because you can see why we the ultimate goal of rollups is actually rollups actually are scalability solutions. So that's why we usually have only one single sequencer for rollups. So, but the problem with this one sequencer would be like they can do whatever they want with transactions from users. So like they can. The one specific problem with this sequencer would be they can front run or sandwich attack to users' transactions. So that's why we've been implementing an encrypted mempool for Madara. So if some projects care about this protection against bad MEV, they can choose encrypted mempool when they develop their own rollups. So that's the one thing that we've been implementing for Madara. And then another one is that, as I said before, probably running their own sequences would be a big hurdle for developers to choose rollups. So external sequencing layer that Radius is building right now, is that probably make those whole running their own sequencer thing easy, so they could deploy their own rollups quite easily. That's the.
Okay, thank you. Matthias, can you talk about how you use Madara for Pragma? What are the challenges? What is the status? When mainnet, stuff like that.
Yes. So a lot of things to tackle here, but Pragma. So the Pragma currently is a set of smart contracts deployed on the public Starknet, but we're looking to move to our own custom Starknet, which will be a Madara chain. And but it's very different than when you think about an app chain, you think about a perp exchange or things that people have funds on. For us, it's just a matter to build a network to build our Oracle network as a blockchain. But there would be no real funds hold on this chain. So it's very specific use case, and in that sense, we can play a lot with the customizability. We can change a lot of things. One of the main features that we are looking forward is the autonomous contracts. So we have data feeds being computed. Let's say you want to compute the volatility of Bitcoin every minute, then the chain will give you a quote, and automatically every 5 minutes or every minute it will run this Cairo program to compute your data feed, and it will create this whole data market on the chain, and all the computation will always happen in Cairo and be proven and settled on Ethereum or Starknet. So that's one of the thing personally I'm most excited about. Then there's the whole proof of stake for data providers. How can we slash them in the same way that probably Starknet will implement staking. But in that case, it's not validators that are slashed, but it's data providers, which is a different actor in our context. So these are the main things. Of course, with a very low block time, that's very important for us. And the last thing is, how can someone on Ethereum read data from our Madara chain, right? That's not only something that we will need, but we definitely need that. And the cool thing is that we can be very agnostic about that. So of course, we're working with Herodotus on this. We're also talking with Avel, that they are building a data availability solution, but on the side they're also building a ZK bridge, bridging basically substrate chains and Ethereum using proof of consensus, and that can be integrated into Madara very easily because it's a substrate chain, and probably there are other ways like Axelar, Layer 0, this kind of solutions. And that will be very important for Ethereum, for people on other chains to consume our data feeds from our chain. There are many other things, but I think that covers the gist of it.
Okay, thank you. Clément, you want to share a bit more concretely your usage of Madara for Kakarot? What will be the architecture, how it looks like, for example, for someone who wants to run an EVM contract using Kakarot on the Madara app chain? Yeah.
So I think that we have started to move from the. I mean, the initial idea was that we wanted to develop Kakarot not to be specifically tied to one single, I would say, Starknet chain. So we were completely agnostic of the chain itself, and just using a Starknet RPC would be enough to run the Kakarot. And so for the end user to have, let's say, an EVM chain with an RPC endpoint compatible with the Ethereum specification. But we are now slowly moving towards considering a more deeper usage, I would say, of the Madara stack, where we would instead possibly use directly like the palette of the Ethereum JSON RPC, the palette of the Ethereum JSON RPC, and we would put the Kakarot contract directly on either in the Genesis or around, I don't know, run it differently directly with the Cairo VM. But these are completely ongoing reflection for us. It's not completely clear. Yes, this is not completely clear, but we do consider now unbundling more Madara itself. While in the beginning it was more like a support for, I would say only a support for Kakarot. But these are topics that we have not been able to deeply look into quite recently, because we focused on the rewriting of the EVM itself, which was already quite a significant piece of work. So yes, this idea that we want to explore as soon as we are ready to deploy the new version, or that we are because this is not directly related to Madara, but we are now working towards passing all the Ethereum Foundation tests that validates that the EVM implementation is actually an EVM. There are 20,000 tests, and obviously we didn't pass them all in the beginning, like out of the box, because there are always some edge cases that we don't think about. So once this is done, then we will definitely unbundle Madara and put Kakarot, I think, closer to the Cairo VM for sure, and maybe use other palettes like Ethereum ones.
Okay, interesting. Okay, Apoorv, can you talk about this post in the Polkadot forum that made quite a big noise in Polkadot ecosystem? What is it about?
Yeah, sure. So basically, the post goes along the lines like along the lines of a shared sequencer. So the idea basically is, I initially started thinking, there is Pragma, there's Kakarot, and there are other people who want to build chains with Madara. And if that's going to happen, then we're going to see a lot of chains building on top of Madara. We'll see a lot of people solving similar problems. Like all of them will look for their own validators. They'll set up economic incentives for the validators, and then they have to do like they have to track the status of their chain if it goes down and all those things. So you definitely need an infra solution that makes this easy for you, like it just hosts your RPC endpoints and everything, that it makes it easy for you to analyze if your chain is working correctly, and it also makes it possible for other people to interact with it. But at the same time, you realize that the entire problem of like decentralizing this is difficult. And as like people who are coming from developing smart contracts, it's you just want to write code and business logic and just ship it to everyone so that they can use it. So, and you get like decentralization out of the box because there is Ethereum or Starknet. So is there a way in which you can just give decentralization out of the box to the app chains? And that's why the shared sequencing thing came up. And the thing is, like, it's not something that I have come up with. There are a lot of people working on it. And the truth is that Polkadot actually started building for this shared sequencing thing way before anyone did in the Ethereum ecosystem. So like Polkadot was solving for the multi-chain future, because of which they have things today. They have things like the relay chain, which is basically, it is something similar to what we're doing today. It's called shared sequencers. They have XCM and Accords, which are basically ways for you to interoperate between these chains. And they also have like Substrate and Cumulus, which is ways for you to build your app chains, but they call it parachains. So basically with Madara, I think we took the very good step of, by the way, I also have to mention that a lot of the technology at Polkadot, like XCM, Substrate, all of this was made in a chain agnostic way, like Parity made it. So it's not like there's no Polkadot which is hard coded into the design of this technology. And that's why I think like Madara did a very good call by, like adopting Substrate and using it, because we just get years of barrel tested code, a lot of dev tooling out of the box, and like also like access to like a really big developer ecosystem. Like I think it's the second largest after Ethereum as of today. So I think we did the first step with Substrate with Madara, and I think the next step should be like inspiring, using the XCM design and using like the relay, like concepts from the relay chain. We can get a lot of that technology out of the box to build shared sequences and interoperability. So my post over there in the Polkadot forum was more along these lines on how like Polkadot has done this amazing job and they built it in an agnostic way, and I think it's time for we can like adopt this technology and use it for like the multi-chain future in the Ethereum ecosystem.
Great, that's amazing. I will pause a bit. We will take a round of questions from the community if there are some questions. And then also I want to share something about the upcoming IT Global Hackathon in Istanbul. If someone from the community has have some questions, feel free to request to speak. So yes, we invite everyone to come and build something with Madara for the IT Global Istanbul Hackathon that will happen in few weeks in November for the IT Global Hackathon. We will have 4 tracks, all using Madara on different aspects. So we definitely encourage everyone who will be there to build something exciting with Madara, and we will add some prizes on top of the prizes of the IT Global Hackathon. So yeah, definitely feel free to start contributing to Madara and be ready to hack on it during the hackathon. Yeah, there's one question from Cube.
Yeah, super excited to participate in the hackathon, and I've got questions like whether there are any live examples of running dojo on Madara, and can I use Cairo 1 on Madara now? Because I saw in the documentation that it's not live yet, though that was like in the end of June or something.
No, it's definitely live now. You can run some Cairo 1 or on Cairo. On Cairo now, we talk about Cairo now. We don't put 1 now. So yes, we have the support of Cairo, the new version of Cairo. We are not always at the latest version of the compiler, but we are at a recent version for sure. So yes, and for Dojo, are there any live example? We did deploy some Dojo game a few months ago. It was Drive AI. It was a racing simulator game. Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, it was deployed for sure. It was on Renegan testnet. It was testnet with a very small block time, 250 milliseconds. But I don't think we have a recent example. We'll try to deploy Tsubasa when it's ready to do the live demo. Tsubasa is a fantasy soccer anime game using Sorare NFT basically. And we plan to deploy Tsubasa on the Madara app chain. But yeah, it should be definitely possible, and for sure, building something with Dojo and Madara for the hackathon can be a very good, can be a very good hackathon project. Yeah.
And just like to finish this off with this great opportunity, if someone else participating in the Youth Global Istanbul Hackathon and looking for a team, please feel free to DM me and let's see what we can do together.
Nice. You can also make this announcement in the Madara Telegram group. Feel free to do so.
Awesome. Thanks.
Yeah. We'll definitely try to help people to assemble some teams. So yeah, definitely feel free to make this announcement on the public group. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. There is another question from Berdu. Yeah, please go ahead. And another also from Kodak Tech. So please go ahead. Who on the starts? Okay. Anyway, we'll remove them from the speakers. Okay. Also, by the way, Madara is very exciting in terms of the community aspect. It was also one opportunity for me to find an exceptional addition to the team, Lana, who is listening. So she started her own Starknet journey with Madara, and now she's part of the exploration team. So I'm very happy that Madara gave me the opportunity to find Lana. Yeah. Thank you, Clément. Okay, so yeah, Berdu, you want to ask your question or just be a speaker and not speak? Okay, second option, it seems. Okay, I think we can soon wrap it up, unless there are other people from the community who have questions. anything you want to add in terms of timeline, roadmap? Yeah, I will give you each of you an opportunity to say some few words about the status of your project and what are the next steps in the roadmap. Yeah, Matthias?
In the roadmap of Pragma or Madara in general?
Both, yeah.
Yeah, so about Madara, first, I highly recommend everyone here to join our weekly community calls on Friday. We'll get like way more into the details about every aspect of it. Regarding the roadmap, like definitely right now the priority is launching the first Madara chain, so probably the Pragma chain in mainnet early next year. We're hoping for Q1 next year. There are still a few things to do. Mainly, there is one team working on the messaging, so L1, L2, L2, L3 messaging within Madara. So it's not it seems like there are a lot of things to do. You have to listen to Ethereum, you have to do a lot of data treatment and these kind of things, but it's almost ready. Um, yeah, upgrading to the latest Caro versions. Also, the main thing that right now is missing into Madara. So Madara already works as a sovereign rollup, meaning that you can post state diffs on the DA layer, but yeah, that's it. That's the only mode it works on right now, but we're working on integrating proving into Madara. And that's where things start to get like really interesting. And mainly there is this piece, this very important piece into StarkNet called the StarkNet OS, which is kind of what makes the link between the sequencer and what the prover is proving. I recommend you to read more about this on a post I posted on my Twitter account if you want to read more. But it's the last missing piece of the Sharp integration. Once we finish like rewriting the StarkNet OS in Rust, we'll be able to like run it within Madara. And yeah, that will be the last piece. Then we can connect that with Sharp and actually settle on Ethereum. So I hope we'll be able to see some Madara proof verified on L1 pretty soon. That's like the main goal. And after that, there will be, of course, the audits and all the security things. There has been a lot of work, mainly by Lana, on the compatibility track of Madara, making sure that all the tooling you're used to with StarkNet is also compatible with Madara. So Argentex, like all the wallet, all the things you're used to, like work as expected. Yes, we're getting there on all these different aspects, and yeah, very very exciting moment.
Nice, thank you. Apple, you want to give an update on your roadmap?
Yeah, sure. So basically, I don't know if many people know it, but yeah, till now I was working with Pragma, helping them build their chain, and now I'll actually be working full time on a rollup as a service and a shared sequencing layer for Madara. So right now it is just in the design phase, but um, feel free to message me if you want to talk more about this. I would love to talk and discuss more ideas, and I'll just keep probably updating on Twitter as well as I progress along these lines.
Thank you. Clément, Carrot, when mainnet? When token?
When token update, this is the question. I can launch a token, it's easy. I can launch a token tomorrow if you want. Not sure the chain will follow. Now, for us, the next milestone is really like the conformance test, the Ethereum test. We have realized that we need to pass them for sure to be confident. Hopefully, within a month, I would say we'll have something working. We wanted to have an announcement for Dev Connect, but anyway, it always takes more time. But then, as soon as this is done, with Madara, we will have a testnet almost ready because we have already the other parts. So when testnet, probably by the end of the year, but we'll see.
Nice, exciting. Luke?
Yeah, so on the Madara front, we're trying to integrate hot stuff proper onto Madara right now. So previous few weeks we were testing it on a more of an empty substrate node. But yeah, so latest by end of next week, if not end of this week, we'll be having that primitive ready. So hopefully, either guys at Pragma or Kakarot, if people want to try out new consensus mechanisms, there's at least one available right now. We haven't figured out how to do different ones super systematically, infinitely yet, but so at least Hot Stuff is a good place to start. And yeah, so that's on the Madara front. For us, we have our Generation 1 nodes, but that one's less interesting because it's not built on Madara. It doesn't have an execution layer. And this is kind of the magic of Madara, right? So, like, our team, we don't make virtual machines that much. It's not like I wouldn't call it our top forte. But, by building on top of Madara, we don't really have to worry about that because there's teams better at doing that, building that part. And so, hopefully towards end of this quarter to next quarter, we'll have our Generation 2 nodes, which have executional capabilities and can help out, applications a lot more. Yep.
Amazing. Great news. LJ?
Yeah, we made this proposal of integrating encrypted mempool for Madara probably 3 months ago. So we completed implementing this encrypted mempool feature. So we didn't these features hasn't get merged into the Madara public repo, but if anyone can if there's anyone who wants to try out with our encrypted mempool, we can help them to use our encrypted mempool with Madara. And then also, as I said before, we've done this implementing thing. So this Friday's community call, we will share the results and the progress we made with this encrypted mempool. And then right now we are building our own sequencing layer. So especially external sequencing layer for Madara as well. So probably very early next year, we will launch our testnet so they can integrate their rollups with our sequencing layer.
Amazing. Definitely a lot of great news and alpha for this. So I think we can wrap it up. So thank you very much for joining the space. I'm very happy to have all of you guys, amazing guests. And I want to take a minute to really thank you to the community, because really Madara will be nothing without this amazing community. I really discovered many talented people, many individuals. I took the time to try to learn more about their personal stories. I encourage everyone to read. There is a GitHub discussion called Madara Unsung Heroes on the Madara repo, and many builders from the community shared their personal stories there, and it was very inspiring for me. And I'm so happy that we have such a vibrant community of people in StarkNet ecosystem. That's our main asset, I would say. Even more than the tech. I think it's our most precious asset. So thank you very much for being on StarkNet ecosystem with us. And I'm sure we'll do amazing things together. Yeah. I love you all. Thank you. Bye.
Well, thank you a lot, Abdel.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Have
much.
a nice day.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us for this Twitter space with Madara. We would love you to join our future Twitter spaces. Just follow our web and our Twitter space page to keep yourself updated. Thank you and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.